The Rose Bowl game, presented by Prudential. Alabama against Michigan. Michigan giving 1.5. Only so many times I can say Jalen Monroe's been overlooked, although Michigan's offense has an advantage, although they've come back a little bit in the last couple games, understandably, playing a couple of good defenses. Better defense, too, by my metrics. My metrics have them by 8 points. I actually got the score right here this time, directionally. I did take Alabama at plus 660 to win the national title. With about 2 or 3 weeks left in the regular season. I just liked the path there. Interesting, I'm sure we've all seen the video of when Michigan saw that they were playing Alabama. It was announced as they were expecting to get Florida State. And it wasn't really exactly a cheer. It was a gasp from the team. So, interesting dynamic there. LeanTossup model has Michigan by 6 as well. Both of us are far ahead of the market. Obviously, no huge opt-outs here that I'm aware of. I think that the market knows better than my number. I don't know if you feel the same, Robert. Big difference here. What are you thinking that would be the proper line here, Isaiah?
There's so many angles I looked at this game on. The first one is, as a Big Ten fan, I just don't want to see Alabama win this game. And that hates me because I really want to see Michigan have this season vacated. But I just don't want to hear the narrative because I can hear it right. The second Alabama got into the playoff over Florida State, everybody was like, oh, they're winning the title now. We know it because then it's going to be, oh, they deserved it because they won the title. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. As you said, it feels like Alabama, as far as the offense went, got much better as the season went on. And I don't think Michigan's got worse. I think they just played better teams. Mm-hmm. I think Michigan obviously looked a lot more impressive against a much better rivalry opponent, but they were at home, whereas Alabama needed that miracle. But then they go and they beat Georgia. Nobody cares that Michigan beat Iowa in the Big Ten Championship game. I think the thing that concerns me about this game, and not just my gut feeling of, oh man, this is where Alabama does what Alabama does, is Alabama beat Georgia in the trenches. Those lines were mauling Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Big Ten teams are supposed to do. If I looked at this game, I would have said Michigan wins because the lines dominate and the run game gets... I don't think Jim McCarthy is going to win this game with his arm. That's not trying to insult Jim McCarthy. It's just not really how Michigan is built to win these games. I'm on Alabama. I hope it doesn't happen. But I'm treating this as maybe I hate to say this, but I'm going to treat this as a wrong team favored. And I'm going to make Alabama a slight favorite here at -2.5.
Oh.
I was hoping you were not going to say that. Damn.
I think Isaiah and I think Buck are going to be happy with what I'm about to say. I'm taking Michigan. I know, I've got a little spiel here. It's interesting. A couple of things about this. One, and as I've said this kind of before, this is definitely a down year for the SEC. They are definitely not as strong as they have been in the past. We have, at many times this year, said, hey, guess what, Georgia isn't as good as you thought they are. Apparently, no one could beat them no one could take advantage of that until Alabama. Now, some teams got close. Notably, Missouri got close, I think. A couple teams did get close to beating Georgia, but it was Bama that was able to finally do it. Additionally, Michigan will have Jim Harbaugh back for this game, which is just funny. The thing is, it's really funny because when the 14 playoff was announced, everybody was so up in arms about, oh, Florida State got snubbed. We just completely forgot about the fact that the team that was literally incredibly accused of cheating was the number 1 ranked team. They're like, yeah, that's fine. But Florida State, we just completely glossed over that. We're just like, that's fine. But Florida State, though, the thing is, and people, one of, I think, the most kind of damning things that, yeah, they definitely cheated, is because Michigan's record in the last 2 bowl games, when they've been accused of doing this, has been dismal, right? Specifically against Georgia 2 years ago, back in 2021. And then last year, they got upset by TCU as 14-point favorites in 22 when TCU said, oh yeah, people told us they were stealing signals, so we made sure we changed up all our signs, and then that was the worst defensive performance by them in forever. So you're probably wondering, Glenn, why are you tempted to take them now? Well, because I think if you have built everything, and your entire system is built to rely on stealing your opponent's signals, then you rely on that as a crutch. You're like, okay, we know it's going to be a running play, so hey guys, it's a running play, get ready for a run. Or, oh, it's a passing play, get ready for this. They're going to make a deep guy open, so get ready for that, right? That's a crutch for you. And then when that doesn't work, you don't know what to do. But this Michigan team now, basically since midseason, they've known that everybody knows to change up their signals, so they know they can't rely on that anymore. So they've had to basically build an entire, well, not really build an entire new system, but they've had to basically be like, fine, we're just not doing that anymore. And I think that getting rid of that reliance has made them overall a stronger team. Now, you can argue whether or not they're a better team than Ohio State or whatever, and I think there's still an argument about that per se. But I can say that, like, definitively, I think they are a better team for that and a stronger team all around because of that change that they've had to make this year. I think honestly it'd be really funny if Michigan won and then they had to vacate this entire season due to a massive cheating scandal. So yeah, give me Michigan.
Wow. Don't know if I'm going to go down the same path as Robert did in terms of my pick. You said a really good number there. I don't like either side on that one. I guess this is just going to come down to, for me, Alabama has looked. I'll put it this way: Michigan has looked more beatable in the last part of the season. And I don't know if I could say Alabama looks less beatable, but I think there's been a little bit less degradation in terms of how bad they've looked, and whatever backslide they took with that weird game against Auburn, they more than made up for with that win against Georgia, which is more impressive than anything that Michigan has done. Alabama's got the better quarterback, and I would dare say Alabama has had to face Jackson Dart, who has a similar apex to J.J. McCarthy, and the Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels, whereas Michigan, I don't think, unless I'm missing somebody, has faced anybody that's as productive as Jalen Milroe. Good and bad. There's a lot of bad in there, but clearly when your apex is that high, your good is really good. Maybe this comes down to, is Michigan able to just keep Milroe from hitting the deep stuff, which is where he really kills you, and also keep him from beating you with his legs. That's a tall order because those are two very different things. Michigan's defense is really good, so I guess if anybody can do it, it would be them. I'm just going to go with Bama. Just, you set a really good number there, and me, I'm just going to concede you the VIG as a nod, setting a good number on that one.
I need to get this out so that I don't get message bombed on Twitter as a Big Ten guy. I am not rooting for Alabama in this game. I don't want it to happen.
Yeah,
but man, I feel like I've seen this so many times.
I would imagine if you're dealing with Harbaugh's antics all season and then you have to deal with SEC guy, I think that would make you college football atheist when it comes to this game.
Like my best outcome here is that Michigan wins and then this gets vacated. That
yeah. Robert actually nailed your scenario.
Yeah.
The thing is, I want either of these teams to win the playoff. If that makes sense, I would love both these teams to lose, but they both can't lose. Like, yeah, it's fine. Just both of them will win the game, and then they'll lose to the winner of the other game. That's it. Simple.
Well, speaking of which, we go to the Sugar Bowl. Congratulations to their president for being on the College Football Playoff Committee. He said sarcastically, "You jerk." As I was going over this matchup, I thought Robert's a rational Oregon fan, so he doesn't have that deep-seated hatred for Washington that a lot of Ducks fans do, but I think this would not really be your dream matchup here. One of these teams is going to play for the national title if you're a Duck fan, because you don't really like Washington, and you and I are both not really fans of Sark.
Yeah.
This is for you. Just take your medicine with whoever wins this one. Even matchup of quarterbacks, although I don't think, even though their numbers are the same, I don't think that they're really the same guy at all. I think if there's one game to win, I would take Michael Penix 11 times out of 10 between the two quarterbacks. Definitely have to give the nod defensively to Texas. They have a very stout, especially defensive front, although I think Washington's defense has improved quite a bit over the last month of the season. They did a good job in slowing down a very good Oregon defense or offense in the championship game. Power ratings have this Texas by 2. Roberts model, because it loves Sark so much, has Texas by 13. Market has this at 4 in a very high scoring game with a total of 63.5. This is an interesting one to me. I think the other thing too that stands out to me is you have Sark with his first ever conference title as a head coach in fewer years than DeBoer has amassed, I think, 5 or 6 conference titles now. So, interesting data points. What are you going to make this one, Isaiah?
First of all, I don't want Texas to win this game because I really don't want. What I really don't want is Alabama Texas rematch in the championship game. I feel like Washington has been the team, especially to end the season, that everybody wants to count out, and now Vegas is like, boy, we gave Oregon we made you lay 8.5 points with Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game, and that sure didn't work out. Maybe we should be a little smarter here. It's just, it has Texas. Let me look at their resume. Have they done anything that is decisively more impressive than what Washington beat? Kansas? Kansas isn't bad, but I would take Oregon over Kansas. Beat Kansas State. I would take Oregon over Kansas. Oklahoma State, I would obviously take Oregon over. Oklahoma's not a bad loss, especially in that game. You don't have any bad losses, but that Alabama win and it feels like that Alabama win the second week of the season is really carrying Texas. And if we're being honest, if they were to play again in Tuscaloosa right now, is anybody taking Texas?
No.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm bold enough to make Washington a favorite in this game, but I really like Washington. Can I set it as a pick?
Yeah, I did that.
I'm going to go ahead and set it as a pick then.
So I want to read off some numbers here. So these are 4 of the last 5 with the exception of Texas Tech versus Texas. These are the passing yardage totals of opposing quarterbacks against Texas's defense. Alan Bowman, 250 for 3 touchdowns. Rocco Becht from Iowa State, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns. Josh Hoover of TCU, 302 passing yards for 2 touchdowns. And Will Howard, 327 yards for 4 touchdowns. They are going against Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah, are you saying that those guys are not as good as Michael Penix? Come on.
Yes, and that they also do not have Romeo Dunze or I can't remember the other guy's name at this moment.
Jalen Polk.
That's terrifying. People are like, Texas is so good, their defense is really good. They've given up 300 yards to 4 of their last, almost 300 yards, except 250, and then they just destroyed Texas Tech. They've given up that many yards against basically everybody else. That's terrifying. I have huge concerns about Texas's ability. If Washington needs a first down, they're going to be able to get it through the air. And that's a problem. The thing is, now that being said, though, Michael Penix Jr., he's only thrown for 300 yards. Now, he did 2 of the last 4 games. He didn't against Oregon State, but that was in the rain, to be fair. And he struggled against Washington State, but that was that kind of insane rivalry game. He had 332 against Utah and only 256 against USC, which is a little concerning. But
USC didn't literally. Dylan Johnson, I think is his name. I think he had almost 200 yards before contact in that game. I'm not.
Yeah, they ran the ball.
They didn't need to pass it. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I have. It's weird. Michael Penix Jr. in Washington got a little worse towards the end of the year, but then they completely turned it back around against Oregon and made it seem like, yeah, we were that good team all along. I have concerns about Texas, specifically their passing defense. Also, they are down Jonathan Brooks, too. He is out with an injury. He's their best running back. Washington is a little weak against the run, so now they're going to be relying on, their second-string running back. And, look, I think that Oregon's offense is better than Texas's offense, and they were able to handle Oregon's offense pretty decently in the Pac-12 championship game. Now, okay, of course, there's some familiarity and stuff, but I think Bo Nix is better than Quinn Ewers. Give me Washington here. Give me Washington pick. I'll take them.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say, and I think I'm just going to give you 2 other points here of why I also like Washington. I believe it was I think it was towards the end of the Oregon game when Penix got hurt, and he really gutted through the very end of that game. And I know he was definitely still hurting in the Arizona State game that they crazily won 15-7 very late in the game. I think that injury still was keeping him from being himself since he had that. Before he had that injury, I think he was like number 2, maybe even number 1 on the top Apex list for most of the season until that injury. Then he just kept going down every week. I think that having 6 weeks off is going to be a huge help to him more than maybe any other player in the postseason of importance. So I think that you're going to see the much better version of Michael Penix of 2023. The other thing is that I referenced, this is a head coaching mismatch. You've got one guy who he knows how to win football games, and for some reason, as Isaiah pointed out, the market is still skeptical of the guy. I am not. I didn't think he'd be this good this quickly at Washington because Washington was horrible, but this guy knows how to win. He had a ridiculously good record, not quite a Lance Leipold record, when he was in FCS or Division II or wherever he was, but he won a lot of conference titles. Look at his Wikipedia page. It's quite impressive. Goes to Fresno State in 1 year there, takes him to the title game, takes over this horrible program. Don't forget, Washington they lost to, I think, Eastern Washington in the season before DeBoer took over. They were just horrible. So I'm going to eat the 2.5 that Isaiah is making me eat, or the 4. I'm going to go with Washington as well. So I think that this means that this is a decent money line play then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I would agree. No, I would agree on that too. I like the money line play.
All right. That is the last bowl. Just to click through the rest of the format here. Just to be clear, there are no dual model plays this season. That means for the bowl season, there was one dual model play. We went 1-0. You all are very welcome. That is an ROI of 90.9%. Congratulations if you had it, and if you didn't, boy, you missed out. You should get bonus points because it was on a MAC team, which is really a high wear act, taking a MAC team in a bowl game. With that, before we wrap this up, we need to pick a champion.
Yes.
It looks like you have, Robert, you're going to have Michigan against Alabama in the title game?
No, Michigan versus Washington.
Oh, pardon me. Yeah, Jesus. Yep.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'll say Washington just because you can get, and I've actually already spent some little bonus bets. Washington getting Washington 7-1 right now. That's pretty tasty, right? I think they could definitely be. If they get past them, they have a better quarterback than Michigan. Do they have a worse defense? Yes, but I think they can. It would be It'd be straight up the best quarterback Michigan's faced all year, and I think that might be a little scary for Michigan to deal with. I'm going Washington. I know it's crazy, but I'm going to say Washington.
Okay. Isaiah, then who do you have coming out of the Final Four here?
So I would have, based on my picks, I would have Washington against Alabama in the title game, and I would also go with Washington on that. Man, I would love to see Mike Penix hoist that trophy. That would be just a great story. So give me Washington as well.
Sentimentally, I am with you two, but I am financially invested in Alabama, and as much as I've made a very strong case for Mr. DeBoer, it's Nick Saban. This is not Sark that he would be facing in the final. Now, if he goes against Harbaugh, different matter. That might be the game I really want to see, so I wouldn't really have divided loyalties. But having said that, this would be an interesting way for Nick Saban to get his last championship with probably his most doubted team in quite some time. So I will go with Alabama. And with that, unless you all have any other final thoughts on this, yes, no? I think that's going to be it for 2023. With that in mind, we thank everybody for listening/watching. We are very grateful for the regulars that we have. I don't know about you, Robert. I know that you're not really a man of the people like I am, but I really enjoy when people tweet at me and say, hey, love the pod, or followed up with questions. I'm always down for that. I've really appreciated this. I think we've stumbled into a format that works. We'll make little tweaks here and there, but this has been a really fun year as we're going through our reps and improving quite a bit. So with that, my thanks to everybody and have a great new year.
Yeah. 100% agree with everything that you've said, and yeah, we will. There's already a lot. Now, we haven't covered a lot of the most breaking news regarding Florida State and the ACC. We will be back in 2024 to do the previews and all that stuff, and yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about next year. We're not going anywhere. This has been an amazing year for us. We've moved the podcast to video format, and we've definitely grown our base. We have a lot more people watching this now than we did before. And watching and listening. That's great. And yeah, hopefully 2024 we can make this even bigger. So thank you to all of our viewers who watched and listened. And yeah, have a great new year. Have a happy new year, and we will see you back here in 2024. Thank you, everybody.
Bye all.